Welcome. My name is Rosemary Connors, and I've been asked to welcome all of you to this celebration of the life of Carlo Ciabattoni. Carlo's was a life to be celebrated. You are all here, united in that belief. You are all here because all of your lives were touched in some way by his, because he was a part of your world. Whether you come to pay tribute to him collectively, no doubt your recollections of him are very personal, very individual. We will hear today from a few individuals who had special relationships with Carlo and experienced his goodness through a particular lens, as his lifelong friend, business partner, neighbor, cousin, grandson, daughter, wife. All of them want to share with you their impressions of this man they loved and cherished so deeply. So remember, we are all gathered here today to be present, to be truly present, to support one another, to hear thoughtful words, and to feel deep sadness, yet experience profound joy. There is no one here who had a more multi-layered, caring, joyful, devoted love for Carlo than his wife and surviving spouse. While some know her as Nancy and some as Autumn, all of you who are here know her as Carlo's loving, steadfast, joyful life partner. Together for over 30 years, married for almost 25, she lived out the vow she made with him. Vows not just on their wedding day, but also during the vow renewal ceremonies that they celebrated throughout the life of their marriage. And welcome Autumn to the podium.
So, thank you all for being here today to celebrate Carlo's life. You know, Carlo told me two things that he wanted when it came to a celebration of life. He wanted everyone to have a drink on him, not a surprise, and he had hoped that people would say some nice things about him. My wish is that today's celebration will honor both of those wishes. Looking around this room, I see people from so many different parts of his world. Family members who knew him from birth, childhood friends, colleagues, neighbors, people from every chapter of his life. Some of you may not know each other yet, but Carlo had this gift for bringing people together. So if there's one thing I hope for today, is that we come together as strangers, but we leave as friends. I so look forward to hearing all the stories that'll come out of today. I had reached out to a few people, as Rosemary mentioned, that were representative of different parts of his life and asked them to reflect on how they saw Carlo. Let those stories please continue as we celebrate with food and drink. And again, thank you for allowing me to begin today's celebration. I want to share just some of the things that made Carlo Carlo, or as I would like to say, how I would describe him to others. Let me start by saying I saw Carlo, let me put this down a little bit, there you go. I saw Carlo as a devoted son. I never had the privilege of meeting my mother-in-law, but through Carlo, I knew her. He spoke about her with such respect as his mother, as a busy professional, and as an entrepreneur. Told me everything I needed to know about her. He saw her fully, and he honored and respected all of her. And with his dad, that's my mother-in-law, and with his dad, Carlo showed what devotion looks like. He attended Dad's every need as he aged. But it was never just duty for Carlo. It was love expressed, attending so many Eagles and Phillies games, father-son weekends with his friend Michael and Michael's son Michael, and countless other moments too numerous to mention. He didn't just take care of his dad, he made sure they had a life together. Though an only child, Carlo always said that he never felt alone. He grew up surrounded by an amazing extended family, and every Sunday, every holiday meant gathering around Grandma Ciabattoni's table for way too much food, too much laughter, and everyone talking over each other. This just shows you some of the food. Way too much laughter and speaking at volumes that could register on the Richter scale, seriously. Now, the story I tell people is when I first started dating and coming to those Sunday dinners, I was actually very quiet. Now, those of you that know me, that's not a word that people would use to describe me. But who could get a word in edgewise with all this loud going on? And trust me, I was also put on the hot seat every time I came to those dinners because I'm an American, I'm a mayonnaise face, i.e. fair-skinned, and non-Catholic, but proud to say that over the years, I held my own at the table and learned to match or exceed the volume at that table. The gift. You know, I'm going to talk a lot today about gifts that Carlo gave me. And the gift he gave me was the gift of an amazing extended family that I now call my own, and showed me how to care for aging parents with dignity and joy. Carlo was a proud South Philadelphia Italian American. Now imagine this, it's 1994, I'm meeting my husband. When he introduced himself to me, he introduced himself as Carl. You hear that? Carl, right? If you know my husband, obviously you do, he had the map of Italy on his face, right? And so I said to him, no, seriously, what is your real name? And he said, it's Carlo. I said, well, why not Carlo? He said, all my life, everyone's called me Carlos. And he said, I hated that. And he said, so long ago, I changed it to Carl. Well, from that day forward, he was Carlo. And I made sure that everybody, even my father-in-law, called him Carlo. Carlo lived in a few different places in South Philly. And he described the street as being filled with extended family and friends who became like family. Everyone watched out for each other. Carlo said you were just as likely to get smacked by a neighbor as much as your mom and dad, right? Okay? Because, again, they all watched out for each other. Hanging out on the stoop, grabbing pots of mussels from the corner bar on a Friday night, and so many spontaneous gatherings and celebrations, including the annual Mummers Parade, made for a very rich experience for Carlo growing up. Of course, Sunday was always reserved for dinner at Grandma's. The final move was when Dad hit the number, and they moved up, and they moved to Packer Park. Carlo graduated from South Philadelphia High School in 1963, otherwise known as Southern. Now, January of 1963. For more about that, I'm still confused about it, but his cousin Burr can give you the whole story of how that's even possible. Carlo told me a lot of stories about his Southern years, including running football pools from his locker. Okay? And outside, he wasn't the best student, but while out, after school, he assisted the number writers. I never even heard of what a number writer was. But he and his buddies assisted the number writers on the street. They heard that the police were coming. So obviously the number writers were very concerned. So Carlo and his buddies grabbed up all the tickets and literally threw them down a window well. Well, obviously when the number writers heard that they had done that, Carlo got walloped. More importantly, because they said, your father's going to kill us if he knows that you're doing this. That shortened his days as a criminal. But one of the things I learned from all these stories and all these people that I met from back in the day was the importance of neighborhood and community, of having each other's back, and the richness of an Italian heritage. You know, Philadelphia sports fans are very unique, as we know. And thank you, by the way, for wearing jerseys. They're known for their passion and their loyalty. Whether it's the Eagles, the Phillies, the Sixers, or the Flyers, fans support their teams through thick and thin, and many bad seasons, as we all know. My husband could definitely be described as a Philly sports fan. He was a year-round participant in all things sports, but he was most passionate about the Phillies and the Eagles. Make sure you ask Michael later about their celebrating their 50th birthday by going to Phillies Dream Week. It's a great story, and one that lasted with Carlo till his 80th birthday. Carlo and his friends had many traditions when it came to the Eagles. Starting at the Penrose Diner for breakfast, they would make their way back to my father-in-law's house in Packer Park, and for some liquid sustenance, i.e. shots of Crown Royal. From there, no matter what the weather, they would walk to the bed. And yes, if you're familiar with the 700 level of the vet, which is where the Yahoos are, right? That's where they sat. This group of 12 guys had been doing this for a number of years. After the game, back to my father-in-law's house, more liquid sustenance, and a play-by-play analysis of the game. Then either my father-in-law had cooked or they would go out for a dinner, a real Sunday tradition for Carlo and his friends. When Carlo and I started dating in 1994, he asked for permission from the guys to bring me to the games. It was agreed to, but the caveat was, he's not coming to dinner, is he? I mean, she's not coming to dinner, is she? So, and I don't even have to tell you the razzing that we took when we would kiss after a touchdown. But after a few trial games, they did let me fully participate in Sunday's traditions, including dinner. You know, being part of this wonderful group of guys, and Janet, who's here today, she was one of the other women that was let in. But being part of this wonderful group of guys, the joy of traditions and rituals, and learning a whole lot more about the game of football. I can actually do analysis now of a football game. And I screamed as loud as my husband did. And these were our view from the field. We were at the 50, right? 50-yard line. But what an amazing, amazing seat. Carlo was a consummate entertainer. Excuse my voice sinuses. As I used to say, I'm married to an Italian. We feed people. And feed people we did. Our table was always filled with family and friends. Carlo took great pride in making his gravy. Now, sauce for everybody else, but in South Philly, it's gravy. The ultimate test came, however, when my father-in-law tasted it, and he pronounced it better than his own. And I gotta tell you, that was quite a feat, because my father-in-law was an amazing, amazing cook. But it wasn't just meals that gathered people at our home. Progressive dinners, happy hours on the deck, backyard parties, the infamous summer liquor wagon, his infamous 3-day birthday weekend celebration, the list goes on and on. And my husband was the king of one-liners. I heard so many people say that when he walked into a room, you could always tell when he came in, because the volume went up tenfold in the room, and the laughter was uproarious. One of Carlo's favorite gatherings was inviting 7 friends and family members to join him in making wine at a South Jersey winery. Of course, this meant multiple trips to complete each step in the process. Every time these 8 guys met, it included lots of food, tasting other people's wines, and as you can imagine, great stories. The wine that resulted was wonderful and appropriately named Otto Amici Un Vino, 8 friends, 1 wine. An amazing time was had by all. And I actually had the last bottle. You don't want to drink it, but it's out on the main table, and you can see the picture of all the guys that were together. In fact, there they are. The gift from knowing Carlo as an entertainer, one, I learned to have a meal ready at a moment's notice. People might stop by. His generosity, though, wasn't just about food. It was about creating community and the importance of gathering and making people feel welcomed and loved. He showed me that a full table is a full heart. Carlo loved anything and everything related to history. Over our years together, he took many lifelong learning history classes, actively participated in a Civil War roundtable, including being one of the stars in a video for the 150th anniversary of the Civil War. Together, we participated as historical reenactors at Fort Delaware, which served as a Confederate prison during the Civil War. We were a major and his lady. A real passion of Carlo's was Roman history, and he did extensive reading and research in the area. He and his cousin Burr could spend hours discussing it. Once when we were in Italy, walking through the Colosseum, and Carlo was giving me an education about the engineering miracle that was. Unbeknownst to us, there was this group of people walking behind us. They thought Carlo was the tour guide. So you can see, pretty passionate. Now, when I think of history and I think of how it just was part of our lives, I think about summers on the beach. There I was reading chick lit, right? And there my husband was reading a tome about the biographies of the Caesars, right? That was us, side by side, worlds apart, perfectly content. You know, I always hated history as a kid, hated it. I remember the days history was memorizing dates, right? That was it, right? That's how we learned history. Carlo always told me and got me to really appreciate the story behind this story and what was so important about that particular event or period of history. As a result of all that, I'm now an avid reader of historical fiction. As I like to say, it's history light. So, a little quick story on this. This is Jack and Jill after we fell down the hill. And this is representative of my husband's patience with whenever I said, I've got this idea, or I'm thinking about. And my husband, grousing as he might, went along with it. 9 times out of 10, he was into it, had a great time. But we would laugh about some of the things that we did together. Now, one of the things that we are known for is that every 5 years we would renew our vows. As I'd like to say to Carlo, I'm deciding if I'm re-upping the 5-year contract. So we did, and this is actually a picture from our 20th wedding renewal. Now, as you know, we're actually married 25 years next May, and we knew that that was not going to be possible. So we renewed early. As our palliative care doctor said to him, Carlo, what's the worst thing that can happen? You live to your anniversary, you renew them again, right? So we did renew them, and it was a wonderful celebration, small group. Our grandsons participated. It was just an amazing, amazing event. I want to read to you, and this is going to be hard for me to get through, so bear with me, please. But I think this tells you what, as my husband, I've told you about a lot of other parts of Carlo, but here's who he was as my husband, because this is the letter I wrote him. Carlo, I have always told you you're the best part of my day, but really you've been the best part of my life. You were the best person I know, the best husband, the best son, the best father, the best grandfather, the best business partner, friend. The list goes on and on. Your loving care for me and your commitment to our relationship is evident in so many ways. Always trying to make things better for me. going along with all the crazy ideas that I come up with, and always, always trying to be a better man for me. Over 25 plus years, we have created some amazing memories, developed deep and lasting friendships, and created an amazing life together. Though our time together has been filled with challenges, I always knew that our relationship was always safe and there was nothing that we couldn't handle together. How lucky I am that you said yes to me when I asked you to marry me those many years ago on the beach at the first light of 1,000 years. Carlo, I love you with my whole heart. You are my home, my true north, my resting, safe place, and the person who makes me laugh harder than anyone I know. And I want you to know and always remember, I choose you and our life together every single day. I love you so very much, Nancy. That is my husband. So much of that is my husband. Once again, I thank you for letting me, thank you for your support and helping me through this. And I will now leave it to all these other great people that I can now listen to. So.
On behalf of everyone here, Autumn, thank you for opening your heart to share these precious, deeply personal memories of your husband. At this time, you've asked me to share this reflection composed by an author you admire, Donna Ashworth. It's about the nature of making a deliberate decision to love one another, always and forever. This was read at your recent vow renewal, and its timeless truths will reverberate forever. It's called I Choose You by Donna Ashworth. I choose you every day. That's really all there is to say. It's simple. Whatever comes our way won't be enough to separate this love. Anything that rocks us won't be more than the belief we use to forge our core. I choose you every day and always will. I'll let this love we made rise up and spill into the life we share together, making shelter for harsh weather. And as we stand here, hearts in hands, let's agree to grow stronger every moment we are we. Like penguins are forever, so we'll be. Forever choosing you and forever hoping you'll choose me. Now we will hear from some of the people dear to Carlo who represent many facets of a life well lived. You will all have a chance to share your stories with one another at the reception, which will follow this service. But for now, please immerse yourself in the memories of those who loved him so well. We will first hear from one of his oldest friends, Michael Melograna. Michael, throughout 8 decades of friendship, saw Carlo emerge from their South Philly boyhood to become the man we are remembering here at this celebration. How lucky we are to hear from Michael today.
Thank you, Rosemary. Thank you, Nancy. Carlo and I bonded in Mr. Johnson's classroom in 1957, Fair Junior High School. He slipped me several answers to the math test. He was the smartest guy I ever knew. That was Carlo. From that day on, we were inseparable. He became part of the Stangl and Melograna families. I became part of the Ciabattoni and Santini families. Unlike my non-ending, long-winded wedding speech that went on and on and on. I promised Nancy 5 minutes. At the end of the wedding, Carlo comes up to me, puts his arm around me. He says, "Thank you so much. Your speech kept my family away from the bar and saved me a hell of a lot of money." That was Carlo. On a train ride to Washington, D.C., our senior class trip in '62, we amazed the teachers and sponsors who were monitoring our activity, what we ate, and especially what we drank. "Look at these guys, they're eating fruit." Carlo turns around. "We're in training." That was Carlo. Little did they know the oranges were injected with vodka. Slipping and sliding across the Blue Room during the White House tour, my bottle of VO had dropped and rolled across the floor. Couldn't afford Crown those days. Carlo was questioned. He never ratted me out. That was Carlo. Carlo goes up to the ticket booth and purchases seats for the 76ers and Boston Celtics game. He fanned the tickets, and there was an extra one. I joined him, and we all cheered how Greery hit the tying shot at the buzzer. Red Auerbach, the Boston coach, went crazy. It didn't matter. Boston won in overtime. The coach strutted across the convention hall floor with a cigar in hand like he owned Philadelphia. Well, on our father's and son's weekend trip to Boston, we got even, sort of even. After the Phillies beat the Red Sox in extra innings at Fenway Park that afternoon, we toured the Quincy Market area. There was a bronze statue of the Boston coach sitting on the bench. Carlo suggests this to my son, who is wearing a 76ers jacket. "Why don't you put it on the statue?" That was Carlo. We took pictures and left quickly. We traveled a lot together, counting our father's and son's trip. We partied in 20 cities, states, and Canada. We celebrated our 50th birthdays together in '95, playing as Phillies at Dream Week in Clearwater, Florida. Carlo constantly reminded me that his team won, and I spent more time in the medical trainer's room than on the field. That was Carlo. In Cleveland, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, to my surprise, we would spend most of our time looking for his favorite Roy Orbison. That was Carlo. What happened to the Franks? Sinatra, Avalon, Valley, Lyman. In Jacksonville, Florida, we had seats the next day for the Eagles game. At the Eagles pep rally that night before, we were sitting at the bar with Ron Jaworski and a bunch of crazy fans. I lose Carlo for a half hour. I made travel reservations to get to the football game tomorrow by boat. That was Carlo. We met at the boat that morning, got to the field, walked up the right, crossed the parking lots, hundreds of tailgaters. A great day. Lousy game. Eagles lost. Leaving the stadium, I had to take a pit stop. Carlo said, "I'll meet you at the boat ramp." No problem. Couldn't find him. Looked and looked and looked and looked. I hear my name in the distance. He was under a canopy with Jacksonville fans eating and drinking, celebrating their win. That was Carlo. Many years after we graduated from South Philly High, working in Center City, selling football pools, and sitting at the bar at Diane's, our favorite watering hole, he leaned over and confessed to me that in Mr. Johnson's class, he was getting the test answers from the guy next to him. That was Carlo. My buddy, rest in peace.
Thank you, Michael.
You're welcome, Ruthie.
Now, we will hear from a man who not only shared his cousin's name, but also shared a lifetime of memories with the many members of their family. Please join us, Carlo, to remember and celebrate your cousin.
So this is a lot tamer than Michael's. It's hard following that. Today I'll be referring to a few occurrences within the Ciabattoni family, which for me serve as examples of Carlo's love and affection for our family, and the family's love and affection for him. First, I would like to give you a glimpse of the family dynamic around the time Carlo was born, in the hopes that it'll give you some perspective of Carlo's reaction to things later on. Time frame is 1944-45. World War II was raging, and 3 of the 4 boys in the family were serving overseas. Uncle Lou married the love of his life, Aunt Eleanor. Our grandfather died suddenly at 50 years of age, and our grandmother was at home with her only daughter, Rose. The family was not only grieving over Grandpa's death, but also riddled with anxiety over the 3 sons, John, Nick, and Fred, who were serving in the war. I'm sure Carlo's birth in 1945 was a happy and joy-filled occasion, and definitely a welcome break from the grieving for our grandfather's death and the anxiety of family overseas in the war. Carlo was named after our late grandfather. When the war ended, thankfully, John, Nick, and Fred all made it home safely. They all immediately began doing and doting on their nephew. He had the attention of every family member, and he had it all to himself, which I know he loved. Over the years, 9 more grandchildren were added to the family, 5 boys, 5 girls altogether. 3 boys named Carlo. I'm number 2. And as the family referred to us, Carlo was Big Carlo. I was Little Carlo. Carlo Capato, Baby Carlo. Baby Carlo was now in his 60s. Here I'm going to fast forward several years. The year 1965, and forgive me if I get a little emotional here. It was a difficult time for the family. My dad, Fred, died in July of that year at 40 years of age. The entire family rallied around our immediate family, but I would like to focus on something which occurred the night my dad died. My mom placed a call to the hospital, and they told her she should come right away. She called Uncle Nick, and they went to the hospital. I waited at home with my sisters, who were asleep. A few hours later, Uncle Nick and Carlo came to the house, and I knew why they were there. That night, I felt grateful Carlo was there. I was able to talk to him about the circumstances that were unfolding, and he validated what I was expressing. Uncle Nick was wonderful that night, but I always was thankful Carlo was there too. I'm going to jump ahead again several years. And the mood gets lighter, I promise. Carlo attended a Catholic retreat weekend with his dad, our Uncle John Ciabattoni, Uncle Nick, and a family friend. On the first night at the retreat, Mass was being said. Uncle John says to Carlo, "These altar servers are pretty lousy. We could do a better job." Carlo looked at him, laughed, and said, "You really think so?" What Carlo didn't know was that Uncle John spoke to the priest, and Carlo and Uncle John were the altar servers the next day's Mass. Carlo couldn't believe it, but he was there on the altar with Uncle John at the Mass the next day. Those who here who know my Uncle John Ciabattoni, just picture him serving as an altar boy. You got to really think about that one. Trust me, the Mass with Uncle John and Carlo as altar servers. Absolutely, for Carlo, was a labor of love. And it made for a great story Carlo could tell afterward. The final item I would like to mention today takes place after Carlo retired. Around 2019, 2020, Carlo started talking about, it would be a great idea to document our family history. And it goes back to his love of history. And people said to him, well, you can go on Ancestry and do it that way. And he's like, no, I don't want to do it that way. That's kind of cold. I want to get up close and personal with family members. I don't want to know about somebody who's related to me that I never met. And so he began his quest. He talked to a lot of people. He talked to my Aunt Rose and Uncle John Capato for a 3-hour interview. They sat and he talked to them for 3 hours about stuff that happened in the family that Carlo didn't know about. As he was gathering information, he contacted my cousin Burr and me and asked us to come over and go over some of the stuff that he had found. And we did, and it was a great afternoon looking at pictures. The research Carlo did was really, really unbelievable. He found the ship's log for the ship that my grandfather came to the United States in. It was so detailed. He had a picture of the person that was at my Uncle Lou's delivery.
Wow.
He had a picture of the midwife. It was amazing. I couldn't even believe that. Interesting thing was, the family story about how my grandparents met was always told to us as Grandmom was coming over here for a prearranged marriage. Her father had made arrangements for her to come to the US and marry someone. The story that we were told was she met our grandfather on the ship coming over. They liked each other. She got to the US and ditched the guy that she was supposed to marry. That's the story we were told. When Carlo was doing his research, he found the ship's log, the Mendoza, and our grandfather's name was on the ship's log. Our grandmother's name was not. So, that love story that was kind of romantic was like, what happened? So I said to Carlo when we were talking that afternoon, I said, well, it's a, and if you knew my grandmother, you know what I'm saying may be true. I said, it could have still happened. She might have been a stowaway. Who knows, right? And my grandmother would do it. He had our grandparents' marriage license. He had the ship's log. He documented every house they lived in from when they came to the US and settled in Delaware, all the way to the homes that they had in South Philadelphia. It was a labor of love for Carlo. And he documented that all in a PowerPoint presentation. Everybody knows, and I'm sure you guys know, how much Carlo loved the PowerPoint presentation. He made copies of it for all of the cousins and sent it to every one of us. And now and again, it is fun to go back and look at that stuff. It really was. And I think that also showed the love and affection that Carlo had for his family. The time and the effort that he put into that, and also the fact that he thought about his cousins and gave us all a copy. I'd like to finish with a poem that I found called Cousin. a cousin's laugh, a shared delight, a bond that made the world feel light. Through childhood dreams and grown-up days, their spirit walked in countless ways. No distance, loss, or passing year could ever steal what you hold dear. Their memory lingers, soft and strong, a song within your heart's own song. May memories lift you when you weep, and love surround your soul in sleep. Though journeys end and time moves on, their light within you still lives on. Thank you.
Thank you, little Carlo. Big Carlo lived a big life, which impacted a great deal of people. His success in business was a testament to his innate intelligence, deep work ethic, common sense, and common decency. This is reflected in the words of his business partner, Bruce Michaels, who will now make his tribute to Carlo.
Good afternoon, everybody. I normally don't give speeches, but I had to do this, so a little nervous, so bear with me. My name is Bruce Michaels, Carlo's partner in Advanced Program Group since 1989. When I think of Carlo, I just don't think of him as a friend. I think of him as a partner, a brother, a co-conspirator in both adventure and in mischief. I am honored to share a few memories that made him so unforgettable. When Carlo and I first crossed paths in 1989, Carlo found out that I was going to do a startup IT staffing firm. He approached me during a lunch break, and I never knew Carlo before, but he came across very distinguished, and we started discussing. After few conversations, we both agreed that we would be a great team fit to make this happen. Carlo naturally stepped into the sales role with his outgoing personality, his charm, and he was never lost for words. He respected everyone, made people feel comfortable, and was always the life of the party. I took on the technical recruiting and operational role side of the company. When we first started the company, we did not know what we were in for. Long days, impossible deadlines, and a whole lot of behind-the-scene optimism. But we stuck with it. About a year or two came when everyone thought the world would end. All our hard work paid off. We had grown the company to over 60 contractors, which was a great milestone for us at that time. One of the great all-time memories of Carlo is when a company wanted to purchase APG. We were extremely excited and flew back and forth to Dallas, Texas for about a month. Then the offer came in, and we flew back to Dallas. And they presented the offer. We both looked at it, and of course, Carlo, staying calm, collected, being professional, shrugged his shoulders and said to the buyers, if I need $250K, I'll write myself a check. Yeah, think about that all the time. We still laugh about it today. That confidence, that humor, that presence, pure Carlo. As you all know, Carlo loved to dress to the nines. Always wore cufflinks, which impressed me a lot. He dressed to impress. He could talk for hours. I could still hear his laughter echoing down the hallway in many places that we worked at. As you know, Carlo loved the Phillies, He attended the training in Florida, where he was handing out baseball cards of himself in the Phillies uniform when he got back to the state of New Jersey. I think everyone had, he brought back dozens and dozens. He was equally passionate about the Eagles. I tried to convert him to Jets and Mets fan, but that didn't go too well. At one point, Carlo went through a difficult time in his life. His health declined and struggled with severe back issues. I was there by his side throughout that year, and one thing finally began to turn around when he met Nancy. From that moment on, he didn't stop talking about Nancy. Both my wife and I didn't get really a chance to know Nancy early on. Us living in New Jersey, where Carl lived in PA, made it tough, especially with 3 kids in sports. When we finally began to spend time together, it was when it was Carl and Nancy's wedding. And it was one of the great weddings we ever went to. One of our favorite memories is the umbrella dance, whoever attended that. We could still hear the music and see everyone pumping the umbrellas up and down. After that, we made it a point to start to meet with Carla and Nancy more often, and saw firsthand the love they shared. At one point, we booked a vacation together, 3 of the best weeks in Italy, with our best friends. So many memories, from places we visited, to closing down markets, shopping at butcher shops, and drinking a lot of wine. Other memories we'll never forget, his stories about American Bandstand. Michael, was he on that, really? Yeah. Okay.
He snuck in.
He snuck in, he said you had to put orange makeup on?
Yeah.
Was it black and white back then, I guess? Right. Trips AT, we pampered ourselves, watching Carlo eat oysters, which made me gag every day. I still don't know how people eat oysters. Carl's 70th birthday, the scavenger hunt, and all the fun. Making wine with close friends, Carlo's dad included, plus endless food and Crown Royal. Triumphant home wasn't easy either after that. Visiting them in Ocean Beach, doing short-lived idea of flipping condos in Wildwood, where we would create a company called Terranan. The company's name was combining Terry and Nancy's first name. Kayaking and boating adventures. In conclusion, we shared so many incredible memories over the years. Carlo was greatly missed. His laughter, his smile, his quick wit, his jokes, and above all, his friendship. He was like a brother to me. Thank you.
Thank you, Bruce. As powerfully as Carlo focused on his career, he had an unquenchable intensity for living his best life outside the workplace. As we've heard today, sports fan, historical reenactor, intrepid and engaged traveler, the host with the most. His neighbor, Mark Levere, had a front row seat to witness the delightful experiences that Carlo and Autumn created for themselves, their family, and their friends. And I call on Mark now to share some of his recollections with us.
Shannon, Nicholas, and Christian, my condolences. I'm honored, but also terrified, speaking here today. I don't know Carlo as long as a lot of you do. A lot of you have a lot more juicy stories than I have up here as a neighbor. But I mean, couldn't have been 9 friends and 1 wine? I couldn't have been invited to a wine making? Found out. So we knew Carlo for 15 years as a neighbor and 22 years as a friend, but felt like a lifetime to us. There was a special kind of bond that was formed over property lines and fences. It was a comfortable, easy friendship. It was as easy as pulling around the liquor wagon. Carlo and Nancy would bring around, I think it was like a play school wagon, maybe, I don't know. And it had all kinds of assorted drinks in there for adults. And they would come around and meet the neighbors, invite you to come out and have a drink, and they really wanted to talk. They wanted to talk to you and get to know you. So that was always fun. But that's how they introduced themselves. Gave us the reassurance of knowing that they were just a few doors down. Carlo and Nancy were the essence of good neighbors. They were always available to volunteer their house. We had Christmas parties, we had New Year's Eve parties, deck parties, and they were so proud to show off the home that they built there in Highland Woods. Beyond being neighbors, we built a real friendship. Carlo was always wise. He experienced many things of coming from the city, us out in the suburbs. We mostly discussed Philly sports, of course, and the disappointment that they were bringing us. Many opinions were thrown out around the room, what the problem always was, but Carlo always knew what the problem was. He had suffered through many sports letdowns, and his words were gold. He always had the answer. He had a soft heart, especially for Nancy, but he could be stern and competitive as well. I remember hearing a story, I think from you guys, that at their new neighborhood, he wasn't invited back to bocce ball because he had some words with some of the players, and I think I wrote down here, he had enough of their incompetence. He was done, and he didn't have the patience for their 55-plus lifestyle. Because Carlo didn't act his age, which was great. That's what I loved about him. He shared the value of community and looking out for one another, not because he had to, but he wanted to, but with the people that he liked. He was the leader of the men's neighborhood dinners in our neighborhood. Even after he moved out of the neighborhood, he still ran those. And I guess someone's gonna have to take that over now, because we had to keep that going in his honor, I hope. One neighbor was talking about Carlo and mentioned him, that he was the life of the party. I think, Bruce, you said the same thing, but life of the party. At least our parties in the neighborhood he was. I wasn't at your other parties. But they won't be the same without him. And the recurring theme today is walk in as strangers and leave as friends. And one of my favorite memories is that 70th birthday party down in Rehoboth. It was a lot of fun. They packed the whole house full of people that didn't know each other, and we all walked out and had a good time, and everybody became friends. We lost a neighbor, more than a neighbor, but we lost a dear friend, and his kindness and wisdom and unwavering presence will be missed by all of us in the neighborhood. To you, Nancy, we offer our sympathies. Please know that Carlo is in our memories forever in Highland Woods, and if you need anything, we're always there for you, and just want to say rest in peace, Don Carlo. I also want to say today, I don't know if you guys enjoyed the ice and snow this morning, but I kind of felt like that was Carlo giving us the old Philly wave. I need your help on this. I have to feel like he's listening today, so you got to do an Eagles cheer.
Yeah.
Ready? E-A-G-L-E-S, Eagles!
Go Birds.
Go Birds.
I now welcome Carlo's daughter Shannon and grandsons Nicholas and Christian. Their lifelong love for the beloved father and grandfather is at the core of who they are as individuals and as a family. And remembrances of his words and deeds will provide a touchstone for the rest of their lives and will no doubt be passed down through future generations so they too will get to know this wonderful man.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for coming. Go a little farther back. I knew for a while that this day was coming, I was dreading it. I'm preparing myself for weeks to come here, and seeing everybody here and hearing all the stories has made it so much easier for me to see all the love, and I just love hearing all the stories, especially ones I never heard before. But the first thing that comes to my mind when I think of my dad, and it is laughter. Definitely laughter. He, as we all know, he would walk in a room and it would shine. He had a shining personality. I always tried to be like that, and I hope to be that way, but I also share my dad's temper as well, which everyone knows he has. I do a little bit, right? Yeah. A little bit. But one story that really shows what a devoted father he was in 2024. I was really sick for a long time and had multiple surgeries. I was hospitalized for over a month. My dad and Nancy and my mom came to the hospital. Now, granted, they're driving an hour plus every day. Every single day, they were there. From where they live to the Mount Holly Hospital, every single day. And he was my biggest advocate, and he forced me to get better. He forced me. I was in a coma for a little while, and he was the first person I saw when I got out of it. And he's like, hey, you know what day it is? Like, he was just, and I'm like, no, I don't know. He's like, oh, it's Saturday or whatever day. And he gave me the date, and I'm like, oh. And he was just trying to just be bubbly. And he forced me to get up and walk. He's like, you're walking the halls. Come on, we're walking. I'm like, I'm not walking, you're walking. And also wanted me to eat the meatloaf in the hospital. That's all he kept saying. You gotta get the meatloaf. I'm like, Dad, I don't want to eat the meatloaf. He's like, oh, come on, it's good. It's on special today. And I'm like, never did get the meatloaf. But that's all he wanted me to do is to get the meatloaf. But he never gave up on me. He was with me through thick and thin. They, even last Thanksgiving, they all had blue shirts on. My mom, Nancy, and my dad, it says, we got your back, and it had a little guy on it, and he was holding his back, because I used to call him my posse. So he would come to doctor's appointments with me, and they're like, where's the posse? I'm like, oh, I don't have them today. He's like, oh, that's how it was. But he didn't miss it, and again, that's a long ride to come for a 20-minute doctor's appointment, but he needed to know. As a kid, I have so many memories. I could be here for days, but I have to tell one that probably most of you have heard throughout your life. You've heard it since I was a kid.
I see where this is going.
Anthony, you were there. My one gift I wanted, I think I was like, maybe, I was still living in Pennsylvania, so I was in probably first grade. I wanted this style dancerella. That was all I wanted. We go to Philly, go up to see Santa. I'm with my cousins. And I don't remember if I was so nervous to see Santa, I forgot to ask him for dancerella. And I'm like, oh my God, what am I gonna do? And I'm crying, of course. I'm going, I'm not gonna get the gift. Where's dancerella? And my dad's like, what happened? What's going on? I'm like, I forgot to ask for dancerella. He runs around. Hey, Santa, hey, don't forget dancerella. Yeah, he yelled across the whole, it was in the gallery, I think it was. Yelled across the whole place just to, don't forget dancerella. Little did I know he probably already had it bought and wrapped. But, you know, when you're a kid, that's all you focus on. But I was a selfish kid. And another time, I shared this story with you last week at Thanksgiving. Me and my cousins, we used to collect the Smurfs. You know this one too. I lost my favorite Smurf, Papa Smurf.
Yeah.
I couldn't find him, my favorite. You could only get him at the Twin Shop in South Philly. That's the only place they sold Papa Smurf. My dad was out of town. My uncle went to the Twin Shop, picked him up. My dad got off the plane or out of the airport, drove to South Philly, went to my uncle's house, picked up Papa's, this big, something this big, drove it all, Shannon, I found Papa's Smurf. I'm like, oh, you did. And just for a little $1.50 thing, he did all that. And that just goes to show you what kind of father that, I don't know if I would have the patience to do that, but he did. Among other things, taking me in the snow, driving at 10 years old. He's like, come on, drive, you could drive, you know, that's how he was. Just many memories, so many, hopefully we could talk about them. But when I was talking to Rosemary on the phone the other day, she was saying, you know, you're gonna have a new relationship with your father now. It's not over, it's just different because he's not physically there, but you still have a relationship, memories, and you can talk to him whenever you want, and it's just different, but he'll always be inside in my heart, and I know he's gonna guide me from above, and I just wanna thank him for being a wonderful father and grandfather. Thank you.
No, you go first. Yes, I do.
Oh, they go off the phone.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Normally I don't speak in front of the whole crowd, but I was just a little bit nervous. But just hear me out. It's just a very short description. So, my grandfather is a very friendly man. I had a lot of great memories with him. I really enjoyed how much he spends time with me and the rest of the family. We all enjoy playing games with him, such as Chain Reaction or Everybody Knows.
Yeah.
All right, so we also enjoyed our summer vacation together. We had a great time. We also love watching cartoon shows when I was a kid, such as Looney Tunes. I also really enjoyed how much he told a lot of funny jokes. And he's very hilarious, and he really makes all of us laugh. I'll always remember, and I love you, Grandfather. So thank you very much. I'm also not really used to public speaking like this, but I'm gonna do my best. Pop-Pop, you're an amazing person to have in my life. Every moment I spent with you has been a blessing. I cherish every memory I have of you, and there are a lot of those. I remember when I was a little boy, and I would always draw cartoon characters on my little doodle pad. You always used to say that all they were missing was a little eye patch. And you would always draw an eye patch over their eye. Something simple like that was enough to make me laugh every time. Not only have you been there to make me laugh, you were also there to help me and my family. He was always a very strong man. You were always there for our family. We've been through a lot of troubles in our lives, but you still found a way to make us smile. I'll never forget the last Thanksgiving we spent together. Like Mom mentioned earlier, when you and Aunt Mom took off your jackets and to reveal a cute shirt you made for Mom. You were always happy to be with us during the family gatherings. You helped make the holidays feel so special. Mom still tells funny stories about you when she was a little girl. Like she said earlier about when you yelled at Santa to tell him not to forget Dancerella. Hearing those tales of times long gone past will always be enjoyable. I know God saved a special place for you in heaven where you can finally be with your family again. God always has a plan. I just didn't think it would be so soon. I'm happy you're no longer suffering, but it had to come at a price. But for the time you were here with us, I was so grateful to be with you. There are many more things that I love about you, and I wish I could say here, but I would be here all day. The bottom line is, I will always love you, even since death has parted us. You were the best grandfather ever. I'll miss you forever and always. And above all, you'll always be my champ.
Thank you, Shannon. And Nicholas and Christian, he must be looking down now, just bursting with pride, bursting. At this time, as we prepare to conclude this part of the celebration of Carlo's life, Autumn asked me to share with you this beautiful passage by the children's author R.L. Knost. It's an encapsulation of the path Carlo followed, that we all follow in our lives. How we appreciate how he embraced the world with love and integrity and humor and strength. Life is amazing. And then it is awful. And then it's amazing again. And in between the amazing and the awful, it's ordinary and mundane and routine. Breathe in the amazing. Hold on through the awful. And relax and exhale during the ordinary. That's just living. Heartbreaking, soul-healing, amazing, awful, ordinary life. And it's breathtakingly beautiful. As we conclude, I invite you all to pause and reflect individually on your personal experience of Carlo. Think of a time or a place in which you experienced happiness, contentment, peace at being in his company. I'd invite you to savor that memory of him now and reflect on it during this moment of silent contemplation. In the days, the months, the years ahead, when you inevitably have feelings of sadness and regret about Carlo's death, hearken back to this memory from his life. It may be a fact that he's no longer with you in his physical presence, but it is equally true that his influence will be felt, and his spirit and strength will fulfill and sustain you all the days of your life. His presence in your life is everlasting, and the conversation with him will continue. And now, I invite you to join in honoring Carlo's life by sharing your own stories about him with one another in the reception that we will now enjoy together. Autumn told me and told us that Carlo expressly said he wanted this day to be filled with stories and memories and laughter and perhaps a cocktail or two. Go to the reception room, get a name tag. There's instructions that will be in there. Talk to one another. Make a new friend. And a special request from Autumn, please take photos while you are sharing your stories and meeting your new friends and send them to her as a special reminder of today. Go forth and celebrate Carlo for being the amazing, fun, loyal, loving person he was. And thank you all for joining together here today. So we're going to go right through the room. The name tag table will be right in front of you, but feel free to just get one when you can. Are you okay?
Need a hug? You sneak one in there. Must be yours.
Like my son's up there. It's like, bar high, my friend. Set the bar really high.
He bought this thing. He bought this. Oh, wow. He bought my grandma. He bought the good.
That looks like it's